the executives of the movie that have worked 2 years plus to produce a public service. So I don't want to hear from nobody about nothing, because you're going to go through me. All right? Nick Baby Love Music Incorporated. I am the consultant. Agabish. Forget about it.
The history of Miami largely ties into the history of Miami bass, and really all Miami music. And Florida, well before it was a state, was really more of an obstacle for shippers. There was a coral surrounding all of the waters around Florida, so shippers, of course, would wreck on these. And this is something that pirates and scavengers took advantage of, and it really is indicative of the story overall. One of the most notable pirates to start was Black Caesar, who was actually black. He became a partner of Blackbeard's later, but he is very notable in South Florida.
That historical information is very important. So it's like a treasure out in the Keys, and I have a lot of the treasures.
And the idea behind the pirates is that this isn't mythical, it's actuality. That is just a couple of hundred years ago at best. But ultimately, what made Florida state was when Congress voted upon it, and they put a lighthouse there to prevent this, which changed the landscape greatly. But what developed Florida as a state was Henry Flagler, single-handedly. Flagler built the railroad down from Jacksonville, which was the southernmost point of the states. At first, St. Augustine, which he developed into a retreat for the rich, and then he expanded that further south initially to West Palm Beach. And when it was cold in winter in West Palm Beach, he took it to Miami. Now, the idea behind Flagler building Miami was that it was built on the backs of former slave labor, who technically weren't even citizens. but they're building it for the rich. It's what creates the diaspora. We have the rich, wealthy playground, and you have ultimately the laborers. And the laborers get sent over town to live, which now that neighborhood is called Overtown. And Overtown was later morphed and shifted over to Liberty City. But during the teens, 20s, etc., this was the strict area that was then called Negro Town. And there's a bit of a sketchy history that's not so easy to research. But we all know that on Miami Beach, that was built by Carl Fisher just by literally dredging up sand and building a city out of nothing. Mobsters and others built their own luxury hotels, which come into the limelight of Miami's landscape. And this was partially, if not greatly, mob money. So at the end of the day, you have to question what foundation Miami is built on and what foundation Miami business is built on. The music industry is a business. Make no mistake about that. Miami gets put on the musical map in 1948 when Henry Stone comes into town. Now, Henry Stone is one of the original roundtable of black music independent moguls.
All black music in the 1940s was independent. There was no such thing as a major label for black music. In 1965, Henry Stone, maybe not,
brought down James Brown to record. Here's the thing about James Brown. In 1956, he had a hit. Please, Please, Please. His stage show becomes notorious, but he fades for a while. However, in 1965, when he comes to Criteria and records on Mac Emmerman and G. Parman's boards, he records what we call I Feel Good. Of course, you can call it I Still Got You.
massive hit. James Brown becomes a beacon for soul music, what was once called R&B.
And this really focuses on Miami. Miami is now a recording place. The story of TK was when Henry Stone hires Steve Alemo, a blue-eyed soul singer. This is a collaboration. Henry Stone being the giant planet in the solar system funding Steve Alemo, discovering Deep City, fostering Clarence Reed, discovering Betty Wright. Beautiful relationship. The irony of all this is Clarence Reed certainly was good at writing songs, but he wanted to be something else on his spare time, and that was Blowfly. Blowfly was an individual. Blowfly was X-rated, comedic, and entertaining. Blowfly was in a wrestling mask, but Clarence Reed made hits, and that's what matters to the record labels most.
How I got started a long time ago was my father, my mother. They were into the music business. My father was a manager for certain acts. This place called TK Records, and a guy named Henry Stone. And make a long story short, my father used to take me there every day. Just come with your bass. I used to be a bass player. Come with your bass, come with your bass, come with your bass. What happened with TK was, they thought I was a genius because what I used to do was once Henry said I can hang out in the studio, I had to okay. This guy named Clarence Reed, his name is Blowfly. He has a cult following of his own. He used to put his finger in my face with a big long fucking fingernail and long ass finger. And I'm talking about, bro, listen, the only person I smelled funky than him was George Clinton. That's a funky smelling motherfucker. But anyway, he used to tell me, hey son, let me tell you something, you're never gonna get nowhere if you don't make a fucking step. He said, you use my office, you sleep in here, you wait, you go in Steve's office, you pry that door open, you climb over the thing, get into the tape room, go to the studio and practice. I said, you sure, man? He said, yeah. So I started doing this and I started learning it.
Now let's reverse to the late 60s, early 70s. Atlantic Records was focusing on Eric Clapton and the Bee Gees, and Criteria Studio is considering big accounts, such as South Florida's huge Caribbean music influence. I'm talking Bob Marley. Even the Eagles passed through Criteria Studios to record there and make their home for a while.
Joe Walsh and the Eagles have recorded here under the guidance of Bill Simzik. 461 Ocean Boulevard. Eric Clapton album was done in the studio here too. And currently it's the studio that's being used by the Bee Gees.
And we more or less fell in love with the place. Where we were staying, which is on Biscayne Bay, and now we own homes on Biscayne Bay.
So I started hanging out with the Bee Gees, you know. And one day the Bee Gees came over with this thing called a DX7. They didn't know how to read the manual, so they left it there. So one night I grabbed it, because I used to work in the studio and do music, and you know, I grabbed it and I was able to read the manual. So the next day when the Bee Gees came through, I said, oh, that's easy. So, I read it because the Japanese used to write manuals back then, and fucking if you knew how to really read, like you read real grammar in America, that shit would fuck you up. But see, I didn't know how to read real grammar, so I didn't give a fuck. So anyway, that led to me hanging out in the Bee Gees studio.
As the 70s are taking a new form in music, there's a little private spot in Miami by the name of Honey for the Bears. Bo Crane is a key figure in Miami bass. He was a disco DJ that had a lot of power and influence.
I came down here to go to school at the University of Miami. And I got my degree, and I was going to go back to New York, because I'm from New Jersey, back to New York or to LA to make my way in the music business. But I kind of got stuck here because it's warm here. I was making a pretty good living right from the beginning, playing bass, doing arrangements and stuff like that. And I got involved in the music business right from, not its infancy, but it's certainly its early adolescence, at the time when TK was really happening and disco was coming to the fore. And that was the other thing that I was doing. I was a disc jockey, both at first on the radio. I was disc jockey and morning man at WEDR 99 Jams.
Nice.
Yeah, I know you find that hard to believe, but yeah, that's right. I was there for a few years. Really, that's how I got to know everybody in the urban music scene. As the morning man and as the music director, I got to see all the promotion people and the artists and all the people involved in the record labels. So when it came time for me to make the leap from being a radio disc jockey to getting more involved on the other side of the business, I had some contacts to draw upon.
These private clubs, synonymous to Studio 54 in the 70s, cocaine era. If Barry Gibbs is going to party at Honey for the Bears or any other given clubs in Miami, then he comes home listening to the music that those DJs played.
Shortly after, he drives to the studio, drives to Criteria on the Julia Tuttle Causeway as he hears the thump, thump, thump of driving. This is what ultimately leads to the single Jive Talking. 1974, one of the biggest disco singles of the era. At the end of 1977, RSO, Robert Stigwood, bought an article by Nick Cohn about the disco scene in Brooklyn, New York. He decided to make it into a movie.
He asked the Bee Gees if they would be willing to contribute to the soundtrack, and they did by giving Nick their album that they were working on in Miami. That movie and that album turned out to be the smash hit Saturday Night Fever. So Atlantic became in charge of the Bee Gees in the USA, and Henry Stone is looking over here saying, "This is interesting." One of his warehouse workers was a guy by the name of H. Wayne Casey. When he met Steve Alamo's mechanic, Rick Finch, at TK's as bottom dwellers, and they were given a green light to experiment in studio after hours, they developed a song. So they hired the Ocean Liners, a great funk band. They congealed into Casey and the Sunshine Band. It goes without saying that Casey and the Sunshine Band was one of the pinnacle bands of the disco era.
You're the best in the world, I can tell. Oh, shake, 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 shake your booty.
In 1979, Henry Stone put out a song called Ring My Bell by Anita Ward, a disco song.
From the words of Henry Stone, this was the fastest song to race to #1 in his entire career. 60 Minutes reported disco is dead.
How and why would anyone say disco is dead when the fastest song of his career is shoot to #1? That doesn't make any sense. In Miami, they like to think it's a conspiracy. How do you compete with a label over here who throws out one single to the market, a 12-inch?
Which is a brand new invention. What do you do? For the majors, they were grooming artists for 5 albums. The independents didn't do that. Now, let's flip forward to contemporary times. I think what's most notable in Miami's landscape for those of us who have been alive for the last 30 to 40 years. In 1979, as Cocaine Cowboys perfectly spelled out, the cocaine wars really went public with the Dadeland Mall massacre. Once that happened, everything was on the center stage. Front stage as far as where the money was coming from, economically, in all businesses. It's a trickle-down effect. So even if you kept your nose clean, you may have had involvement in some way. And this was, of course, right before the Mario boat lift. The Mario boat lift changed the landscape racially of Miami more than anything. And for any fan of Scarface, you've seen a great dramatization. Something that's a reality. Scarface was filmed in 1983, 3 years after the boat lift, 4 years after the Dadeland massacre. Now, here's the funny thing about it. Miami Vice is a TV show that popularized Miami, the landscape, the glamour, if you want to say there is glamour in that business. That didn't go on the air until late 1985.
And of course, 1986 completely ended the major trafficking in the most direct way, and now it has to become an indirect industry, which so much happens with music.
Let's go back a couple of years to South Florida and its music scene. In the 80s, Latin Invasion, the Cuban group Miami Sound Machine, fronted by Gloria Estefan, brought their crossover Latin American sound that was born in Miami, which really brought the world ears closer to South Florida. While pop culture and music were dominating the airwaves, the street was creating its own movement with the electro funk sound.
By 1984, electro music had already made its way to Miami through Africa Bambaata's Planet Rock, and then it came other imitators. You know, you had Planet Patrol, Play at Your Own Risk. You had Quadrant 6 with Body Mechanic, Pretty Tony with Freestyle and all that. You had all this whole electro genre that was created out of hip-hop music, hip-hop culture in the early days before we even called it hip-hop.
Knowledge is power, right? Then we'll get here. Now I'm gonna get into some electro funk type shit that was big in LA. This right here is by a group called Sexual Harassment. This record right here was a big influence on the whole, on West Coast, hip-hop, period, Tour de France. Artists like Egyptian Lover, this right had everybody breathing heavy on their records, trying to make beats like, metal on metal.
Even legendary entertainers, such as Ice-T, were laying down their own electro-funk flows, such as songs like Reckless, that appeared in the movie Breakin'. Also, legendary hip-hop mogul Dr. Dre started his career with West Coast electro-funk with his group The Wrecking Crew, with such songs as Surgery. And before Dr. Dre converted his styles of music to gangsta, there was Rodney O and Joe Cooley's big bass record on the slower tempo called Everlasting Bass.
Planet Rock comes from a German band, so you could say there's these German guys pretty much influenced hip-hop, because from Planet Rock starts the whole Miami bass scene, starts the whole West Coast, like Egyptian Lover and all that. It all comes from Planet Rock, man, which comes from Kraftwerk.
And spreading overseas to the groups like Gary Newman, Human League, many of those groups over there, and to the mighty Kraftwerk and them from Germany.
Okay, well, we wouldn't even want to get started on that.
And into Japan, Yellow Magic Orchestra.
Oh my God.
The drum machines were an outlet. Drum machines were a fluke. You have to have a demand for a product. And the demand really comes from, let's face it, Kraftwerk. We can't say Kraftwerk enough. Although some people may say it too much without saying Giorgio Moroder. Giorgio Moroder and Kraftwerk conjoined developed this language that we have. But ultimately, when Kraftwerk did Trans-Europe Express, that became a staple of Grandmaster Flash's set, therefore a hip-hop standard for breaks in 1977. But if we flash forward, no pun intended, to the drum machine era, Kraftwerk released Computer World. Some people would say their swan song, their magnus opus. This is the album that ushered in electro.
That's my man throwing down.
My name is Scratch D from the act Dynamics 2. It all began back in the early 80s for me, working in a skating rink. I learned how to DJ there, and that was sort of the birth of that kind of music, the style of music that we branched off into and expanded on, which was electro. Electro music, when we were growing up, we heard Kraftwerk, we heard Yellow Magic Orchestra, acts like that, ELO, and that was just an inspiration to me.
As far as the vocoder idea pretty much came from Kraftwerk, because at that time Kraftwerk, they were jamming. They had like numbers and different things like that, tracks.
Yeah, I love electro music. You know, back in the day when I was a little kid, my father, he used to go to London every year, so he brought back this Kraftwerk album called Autobahn, and I was blown away by it. So when I heard that album, I wanted to, you know, make that type of music, electronic music.
So I go through all my records, and I'm digging for something. I find this Kraftwerk, because I'm a big fan of their records, like everything Kraftwerk did. I'm like a huge fan. So I find one of their tracks and I hear, and I was like, this is awesome. So I put this in strategic little spots throughout the track, but I knew it was empty and I knew I needed some more stuff. So I'm constantly digging through all of my old records and I pull out some James Brown, that Night Train joint. And I sampled that in there and I started thinking, wow, Kraftwerk, James Brown, totally different worlds. Nobody's gonna really be feeling it. No, I shouldn't add it. But as I got away from it, I kept hearing it. And I was like, man, I don't know how to produce. To be honest, I don't know what the freak I'm doing. But all I know is that shit feel good.
Rappers are always searching for new sounds to scratch into their recordings. It might surprise you to know that sound is different in each region of the country. Public Enemy, a New York rap group, sold 750,000 copies of their first single in just 6 weeks. That, even though radio stations refused to play their radical political message.
Definitely started out as a scratch DJ, learning from guys in New York. When I was in the military, I was stationed overseas in London, England. And guys from Rocksteady Crew, Africa Islam, different people like that, used to come to London to do exhibitions, and by me being in the military over there, I was hearing about hip hop and this and that. We're talking like 1982. Beatbox and Revelation were 2 records that I produced with some other guys that should remain nameless, but at the same time, they were my first ventures of going into the recording studio. But a lot of times, you know, back in those days, the only reference you had was Run DMC at the time, and then you had Def Jam that was just coming out like in 84, 85.
When I went to see Rick Rubin at his dorm room at NYU, he had a drum machine. The drum machine was called a Roland 808. That's the drum machine used to program the beat for It's Yours. We recorded It's Yours in a studio named Power Play. I sat in on the mix. Now here's the thing, when It's Yours was being mixed, I'm a big fan of bass, of the bass sound. And I remember I kept telling the engineer to put more bass on the record. Now in the studio you have big speakers and you have what's called monitors. I was not satisfied until those small monitors were ringing from the bass, which led to It's Yours being the very first huge bass record.
And they had the little Crush Groove movie with LL and all these other people. So you were trying to emulate somewhat of the sound that they were coming with or what they were doing. So we tried to do our spin on the combination of using New York style scratching.
This is the world famous Tretch DJ, Mr. Mix. Google me if you don't know who it is or where I come from. But I am a legendary pioneer of the Miami-based sound. Matter of fact, I'm one of the architects. We're gonna do something like this here. Give you an understanding of who I is.
What can I say? If some of you old-timers felt courageous enough to listen to rap songs, you might hear parts of some of your favorite groups mixed in.
Along with some of the up-tempo stuff that Egyptian Lover and there's a guy named Pretty Tony from out of Miami. He had a lot of big freestyle records, When I Hear Music, and some songs he did with Trenier and a couple other things. They were really big in California at the time.
I actually brought David Hobbs and Chris Wong, Fresh Kid Ice from California, and they had that record and went through all that.
A record promoter in Florida, in Miami I should say, he got a hold of our record and gave it to a guy that I became good friends with, a guy named Luther Campbell. A lot of people know him as Luke Skywalker. So he really liked the record, and he felt like, at the time he was a concert promoter, he figured that if he got the record hot, he could bring me and my other two compadres down to do some shows. But at the end of the day, Nick Salerno played Connect the Dots to get me here to Miami, Florida from California.
Then obviously I was fortunate to go through the whole Bambana thing, which is in a documentary, you know what I mean? He's a good friend of both of ours. No, we gotta knock it down. Big baby love.
Brother Africa, Bambata, Universal Zulu Nation, the arm of our universal hip-hop culture.
And I met you in 1980. We worked from a payphone, and there was no such thing as CDs. We worked from vinyl, and dude, we were playing 45s. There was none of this anything, you know what I mean? We never had a cassette. And the drum machine was just invented.
That's right.
We were in a studio, nobody in this room will even believe it. With John Roby. They won't even believe the people. You know what I mean? But, Arthur Baker, who I went to high school with. Tom, you follow me? They didn't even know about Jelly Bean dating Madonna in the studio.
Jelly Bean Benitez, that's right.
There you go. We broke the record here, and it got so hot. Remember Jerry Rushing, right? He played it 3 times on the turntable.
Yes, sir.
And it was so funky.
It definitely caused many frequencies and vibrations to everybody around the planet, brother. But all of it is electro funk. Miami bass, the Rio funk, the Florida breaks, the Bali funk, what else they got? The electronica, all the different styles. All part of the electro funk style. Great one down here who really took it out there, and with yourself, the mighty Lou. He might have did it on the nasty tip, but he took it out there.
And there we go.
Nasty as they want to be, 2 Live Crew.
Pretty Tony.
Master.
You know what I mean? Trying to use a statement. In the year of our Lord, 1982, we fought like warrior poets.
Yep.
You hear that beat, man?
It's that old school shit, man.
That's that old school.
Came up on that.
Oh my God, man. Well, anyway, here we are, finally. After everything that we've been talking about, we're here at Pretty Tony Studio. So I just think he's arrived. Nick just texted me, so what's up, man?
Let's do it, man.
How did the radios accept the style of music that you were pushing at the time?
Well, I had just left being a DJ, so I kind of had a feeling for what they were playing and what they were liking. Yeah, during that time it was like Beat Street, a lot of break dancing and that type of music. I did what they were doing in the clubs already. You know what I mean? So I didn't have to try to get them accustomed to liking something new. So what I did was just an extended version of what was out there already. So they were very accepting to that.
I know back then it started in New York, the electro sound, and then it primarily kind of came down here, and maybe California was doing a little bit with the Egyptian Lover and all that stuff. I just wanted to know maybe some of your memories and thoughts on how it evolved from those points.
The first group I did was an actual band. Drummer, guitar player, and this and that. So we put the record out. The record went #1 on the radio, and they went totally crazy. Everybody started telling them they were superstars and this and that and this and that. So they came and had me to say, we want to get rid of Tony because he's trying to tell us too much what to do. So I tell you what, you guys do what you want to do. You can do everything you want to do. Get out of here. I went and bought an 808 drum machine, a keyboard, and a vocoder, and every record after that was platinum. When I did my first record, it went platinum, and to be quite honest, the people in New York thought I was lucky. So if you wasn't from New York back then, it wasn't, it wasn't considered legitimate.
Play at your own risk, fix it in the mix, all these songs that were coming out, Body Mechanic and all that. But to me, most of those songs were more like like for all the poppers, like all the dudes that were into the robotic style of dancing, not the b-boy stuff, because people used to confuse them both. When this track came out with Dance to the Drummer's Beat on, I was like, okay, now they're using breaks in these electro songs, you know? Because I was into the collecting all the break records back then, and the ultimate breakbeat record collections and stuff like that we had. And we were dancing to that. And I remember somebody telling me, yo, man, you guys are still break dancing, man. That shit is played out, man. That shit is, you gotta get with this new shit, man, and all that. And I'm like saying, look, man, you can keep throwing all the dick shit, because that was the name of the song, Throw the Dick. Right. You know, we call it Throw the D. You can keep throwing the dick, and while you're throwing the dick, we're just gonna keep freaking breaking it down and doing our shit. You know what I'm saying?
Well, here's another step in this film, man. Stevie, thanks for having us here today. We needed this thing, man, big time. It's like a dynamic of what we're doing, man. Even though breakdancing really never touched with bass music, but a lot of people came from the breakdance era, where in South Florida got into it.
It was a natural progression, you know, Miami bass. It was electro, you know, and the whole Planet Rock. Basically the foundation of the whole Miami bass music. We're downtown Miami at the B-Boy Pro-Am. It's going down, hip-hop culture being represented to the fullest. Miami bass, you name it, we're doing it here today.
It all started from breakdancing, coming from New York, coming down here, digging the fast beats. When the breakdancing thing was phasing out, I was going to the Palace skating rink, and I was watching this guy, DJ Red. He had 2 copies of It's Time, and he was backing it up. And in the 5 minutes I was watching him, I saw that the fader moved over this way, that was turntable. The fader moved over that way, that turntable. When he was scratching, I knew the fader was the thing. So I went home, started practicing on my dad's stereo, ripping up records. So by the time I actually got on some Technic 1200s, I was pretty good. I kind of compare it to like the Karate Kid with the wax on, wax off stuff.
I was in a breakdancing crew called Atomic Rock, and we were breakdancing at this place called Trail Skateway in Palm Beach. And this DJ named Scratch D, David Noller, was out there. He was the DJ, and he actually DJ'd for our crew. We were pretty good at the time, and I was so fascinated by what he was doing. And he showed me about his mixtapes and his editing and all that. It was awesome. So from that point on, I had this itch to be a DJ, you know? To be the guy that was scratching and cutting.
The scratching and the dropping of samples in there was not a big thing to me, because the last 10, 15 years I had all this experience working in a skating rink, and I knew the hits, and I knew what the kids wanted to hear, and were familiar with sound, the little sounds and snippets that would spark interest.
In '84, you had Pretty Tony out, and you had the whole Miami evolution of the music, like how Miami was creating its own sound out of that sound, you know?
But the thing was, when I'd seen the actual machine in London, and I'm tinkering around with the knobs and things like that, there's a kick drum knob on the 808 drum machine to where it'll either make a tight kick sound or it'll make the boom sound that everybody knows as the 808 boom sound now. But when the Planet Rock record was made, Perfect Beat, all of these other records, that element wasn't used. And I always wondered why they would never turn the bass to where it would rumble, and they just wanted to keep it tight. So I always wanted to use that element, in records from before. So when I did my first 2 records, I made sure that element was in it.
Okay, so now let's get into the bass stuff. Apparently, we're leaving this era called electro funk, and this 808 drum machine is being used more and more often now. There's a lot of people who claim invented bass. Do you have an idea or where it comes from? Or?
Well, I will never claim to have invented it, but I think I was one of the first ever to put out a record with bass in the title. I used to go to like Liberty City or Overtown. On the weekends, there'd be these sound system crews out there. Space funk DJs, ghetto style DJs. All of them had names, and they had crews, and they had sound systems with these huge bass bins. And they would go out and be on the corner of some intersection in Liberty City or Overtown, and on a hot summer day or a weekend, they would have these impromptu street parties. And a lot of them played electro records from New York and they would use the instrumental portion of the records and rap live over it. And people would go crazy. The people that heard this stuff going on live would go to the record stores and they couldn't buy it there, because it was done impromptu right on the spot. And so somebody got the bright idea of taking one of these electro tracks and rapping on top of it, or maybe scratching a little, like they did live at the shows also on the street corners. And all of a sudden, you had this kind of organic growth of a different type of style that was created live on the spot that they went into the studio and recreated. Eventually, I started putting out these records. And I put out a record called The Bass That Ate Miami that incorporated a lot of these things into it, the scratching, and also the use of samples dropping in and things like that. And it caught on. And also, the name bass music caught on because of the enormous bass bins that the DJ crews used to use, and it was recreated in the studio by cranking up the bass when you made these records.
Ghetto style DJs, Baby Said, Marvelous JP, Amazing Chico, Luke Skywalker. These were great DJs who threw great parties, party down DJs, Space Funk, maybe most notably CM Express, Chris and Mark, FL DJs who were there in 1979, Jam Pony Express in 1980.
I'm Captain D from the FL DJs, Def Rock Crew, and Def Bass Crew. Started back in 1979. Just got into it in high school, hanging out. Started DJing at the skating rinks. Met up with Slick Vic, and I built up the FL DJ, started doing parties. Around 1980, the skating rink closed down. They split up. I kept FL DJs and wound up still jamming. I went to Northeast High School, met with this cat that was in my class named Jeff Austin, which I found out later on is DJ Slick Vic's brother, who took me over to DJ Slick Vic's house. Met Vic, everything clicked, and FL DJs, we were like the white crew, and the Sam Pony, of course, the Jam Pony.
Hey, the sounds that you are now listening to and being possessed by the one and only Jam Pony
Express DJs, featuring yours truly, DJ Slick Vic, in the music.
With McNasty Slime Groves ear, La Cool Jaw. You know the business, ain't it? Yeah.
Panty Raider, Zeke the Freak. Check out
What up? What's up with y'all?
If you're not wearing panties, I'm talking to all the little freaks. Leave that.
Yes, man.
Jam Pony was out way before I was making records, just making mixtapes, and they were probably the first dudes to ever do mixtapes. I know everyone says they got the mixtape now. These were the original mixtape guys, the Jam Pony Express guys.
I touched upon a second ago, I think Jam Pony had a lot to do with it. The fast-paced DJing and talking over records as they're being mixed.
Jam Pony, it was just every Saturday it was like crazy, man. It was just like, I can't even describe it, man. Like, Slick Vic was just crazy. He was so good, man. He was like one of my favorite too.
You feel me? They had that boom in it, though. If they had that bass in it, it got play in my ride.
Yeah.
As long as they had that bass. And we love that. That's why we love the early Run DMC records. And
Big shouts out to Slack Pack, Gucci Crew, the Puppies, you feel me? All of them, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
And our Coochie
Young and the Restless,
God.
That Gucci Crew, boy. Gucci Crew, man, I love that.
Luke, everybody, man.
Yeah.
Now, let's meet some of the bass artists, producers, and executives and listen to their stories and memories as they relive the creation of bass music.
Well, basically, myself, I wasn't never meant to be a rapper. I was an athlete, I figured that I would have been playing pro football or basketball or something, but that didn't work out, so I happened to be in the right place at the right time, and that's how I became the parents of Roxanne.
Hanging out at Royal Sounds at the Lauderhill Mall, Foresight Records, because it was a record shop and a record label. We used to hang out in the back, listening to new records, scratching, had a turntable and mixer set up in there. And then I found out Gigolo Tony needed a DJ to go on the road. So he used to come in and out of the office. I was in there scratching. It was kind of like, oh, that guy sounds good. And we connected from that point.
Yeah, let's check it out. It's fly, it's called
Dance with the Boogie. Dance with the Boogie. This is a Gigolo Tony, and I guess I'm the man, so let's do it.
Let's talk about Parkway Records. That was all yours?
That was myself and Tyrus Neal, who owns Cafe 51 Club up on Broward. What's up, T? We went in that together and started Parkway Records. And the first song actually was co-produced Devin, Captain D. You know, we flip-flop. I produced him, now he produced me. So that was the first record. Dance with the Boogie, which he produced, was off Parkway Records.
So that was your first video that got aired on BET's Rap City?
Yeah, that's the video. The first one. The first video ever by Gigolo Tony, you know, came off of Parkway Records, independent record label.
Where I come from, the sound is a little slower.
Yeah, well, it's more of a dance market here. You know, it's like, that's all I want to do is party, dance, you know. And bass sounds a lot better going faster.
Now, the bass thing, what that was about, when we went in the studio, we always pushed more and more to get, you know, higher levels, stronger levels on the bass side of things. You know, because the main thing about it, because of the bass, we wanted everything to be big, you know what I'm saying? That's why we had the big horns, you know, we had, you know, we rented the emulators to come in because we wanted everything big and strong and, you know, full body, like, you know, the bass, because, you know, we wanted to make, you know, big productions.
Everybody was saying that this bass thing wasn't gonna last, that it was a fad, just like they said hip-hop was a fad when it came in. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people tried to stop that Miami movement because it just came out of nowhere, and when it took over in a massive way. The clubs, the streets, it just took them by storm.
The cars?
Oh, forget about it. Anybody who had boom in their car wanted a Miami bass record.
Bass music also started the booming audio system craze, which nowadays is still relevant in the car shows. As we were filming this car show here at offleaseonly.com, a mega car dealership in Miami, custom cars and trucks filled the lot like they did back in the 80s, which goes to show you how bass music inspired all of these booming car audio followers that are still passionate about continuing the lifestyle today. Each ride is custom with pimped out paint, sick rims, and a booming system. Just like the dance. These cars required you to drop them low to the ground, and even some of them bounced with their hydraulic systems. While the radio stations and clubs were playing bass, there was another bass genre on the rise at the car audio shows. Let's give credit to some of the originators that created this sound. Dynamix 2, Magic Mike, Techmaster PEB, Neil Case, Bass Mechanic, Derek Romming, Power Supply, Billy E, Debonair, Megatron, and Bass Cube, just to name a few.
Dynamics 2, along with me, we came to defeat. The wannabe perpetrators gonna be tasting the purple beast. What does it represent? Deep, steep, and brutal, like the color itself is bruised up and suitable. Profiling, low riding, who's driving you? Then keep your eye on the road, passengers mind in your stereo system. Nissans are kicking, monsters are hissing, S10s are wishing to bump and stomp the deep, complete beat. Yo, I'd rather do all this in my Jeep.
To the floor, give a chance to get back at the ladies. And for me, like I said, a native New Yorker, hearing that for the first time, man, I was so open. First time I went on 61st Street and 15th Ave, and I heard my man Uncle Al, God bless the dead, play that Sugar Hill sound with that fucking wall of speakers. And I'm like, God damn, this shit is serious. I love it. I love it. So I went in. Every time I went in the studio, I went hard. It was fun, but it was serious fun. You know what I'm saying? It was serious for me. Real shit.
Wouldn't you just know it? The Miami rap sound is called bass jam. Heavy on the beat, played at a level obviously designed to liquefy the brains of those over the age of 30. Rap is so big in Miami, that's all Joey Boy is making this year, and they sell records, lots of records, even without advertising.
There were a lot of independent labels, and they would come out with music like if it was no tomorrow. Every week. It was 3 or 4 singles or an album.
The records was doing so well from the first one that we had the pressing plants down here running 2 shifts. So we had 4 pressing plants on double shifts. So went out and bought a pressing plant and made it 24/7. So that was the only way we was able to keep our records. When I did the first one, fixed it in the mix, then one pressing plant was doing that one, then jammed the box, another pressing plant, only my records. And then when I hear music came, you know, so that's how it went. You know?
The major labels, they've got a big budget, relatively speaking, to get that done. And then here is some little one-off or two-off street label, or even a label, let's say like Pandisc or Joey Boy or Foresight, and they're just blowing the majors out of the water.
And would you say that that reflects what TK was doing in the 70s?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is my man James right here, DXJ, Magatron, the originator, one of the originators of the Miami bass sound from back in the early 80s. James, why don't you tell him a little something about it?
Is that the Godfather?
The Quadfather.
The Quadfather. Well, what made you get what was the thing that made you get into the whole electro side and the...
Because I could see that that's what it was.
That's where it was going?
Yeah, and the people that I was working with, like we were just talking about, all roads lead back to Henry Stone. I'm working with people that came from that. These are like the disco era.
Absolutely.
You know, I had been in the studio with Willie Clark, Clarence, Freddie Stonewall. You know, not doing it, just sitting there, just a fly on the wall in the background. You know, at Henry's old place. And
so you said you saw that's where it was going. Was it like the whole was it the break dancing that you saw like the kids
It was
doing?
that. It was everything. It was that I could see that you could do this stuff and cut through all the layers, and not to put musicians out of business or not to put them to the side, because I dealt with people that were drummers. Drum machines. Like, you should take the drum machine because you would do things with this drum machine that I wouldn't even have an idea of what to do. So I just took it upon myself and I just stripped everything down and went into doing electronic music, if you want to put it that way, which is what Miami street music was.
Absolutely.
Now, when you came into play, was it the DXJ?
Actually, yeah. We were introduced by somebody else that we were working with at the time. I had picked up on like films like Beat Street and whatnot, so I was kind of sucked in by that. So I wanted to be that guy, that musician guy that plays those records for the crowds, that gets the people moving, gets the people dancing. So I was practicing and playing with my, in the bedroom and kind of getting my craft together. And I guess he recognized, whatever skills I had at the time, so he invited me to a studio session, which was taking place. And with that I said, hey, this is great, golden opportunity, and thank you, appreciate it. I walked in with the turntables, with the stack of records. I said, what do we do?
Here's the beat, here's the basic melody, this is, verse, chorus, whatever, bam.
The rest is improvised at the studio, right?
Exactly.
I felt that, I knew that, and I kind of just jumped into it. So, okay, great. So I'm pulling out records one by one, scratch here, put this together, scratch this, scratch that, and next thing you know, it's like we have like patterns going on in the way like the cuts and the scratches were laid out in this record. But it was unique to the way that we were just saying like sentences, and we were saying things that made sense,
With the success of Def Jam and Rick Rubin's experimentation with drum machines across the board, but certainly including 808 and sustained 808 kick drums. Within South Florida, we have our own, which was Amos Larkins.
How I got the bass was a total accident, all right? It was a mistake on my behalf. It was something that I just didn't check out. And what happened was I was really heavy on coke, and I used to visit like a lot of strip joints and stuff like that. So this is what I remember. I remember leaving it now because I was like, that's interesting. And I was sitting there contemplating, because sometimes when I'm doing music, I think about it a lot, And then I went, oh shit, wait a minute, this girl, it was like my favorite fucking stripper was there. She was waiting on me. She finally fucking, after like maybe about $20,000, she finally agreed to come with me. And as she was dancing and she was playing around and shit, I hit the button and the shit just recorded. I didn't listen to it, and I let it go just like that the next day. And then the time I heard it is I went with Disco Joe to drop it off to the distributors, right? Fuck, man, I heard this shit in the store. It was right on Northside, bro. I remember hearing that fucked up bass. I said, my heart was like, as a matter of fact, I was all cooked the night before. My nose got clear. I could smell. Breathe like clear as hell. I was so nervous. Anyway, I said, so then the people said, what the fuck is that? They started lining up for the shit, man. I was driving some guys and they was playing this record called Ghetto Jump, right? Shit was tearing up the speakers, right? I said, wait a minute, stop. They go, what? I said, do you really like that? I said, man, that shit's the shit, man. Well, fuck it, let's do it some more. So I just kept doing it. I just kept doing it, and it became Miami bass. That's what happened.
#1 rated MC, amazing B, intellectually, down with Rock Force and ITC, cause we're all from Miami.
Meet the Miami Boys, 2 young men from Coconut Grove who've just cut their first rap record on the Joey Boy record label.
Better than a fat cat, nothing can be done. She gets no slack because she's fat, your mama weighs the
A
ton.
lot of the cultures are coming together around rap because it's just, I mean, there's so many things you can do with rap music.
Think in the future to be more popular than rock.
At least one applied behavioral scientist thinks we're missing the boat with the popularity of rap. He calls it a creative outlet that can reach children. I think people have a hard time accepting it because of where it originated from. But as more people get into it, I mean, you've got white rappers.
So, you know, I'm in 11th grade. I got a nice little record out. It's doing all right. You know, I'm trying to get my little shine on. It's doing okay, you know, but I'm not satisfied with that. So I went through a period of my time where I wasn't happy with the record label. I was like, you know, they really not doing nothing. They weren't talking about another second single. And at that point, I was like, you know, it might be time to move on. And we had a little controversy between me and Cooley. I know Cooley didn't want me to leave Beware Records because, you know, that was, you know, he was basically helping Beware run that thing. But I was like, you know, it's time for me to, you know, move on. And I went through a couple other DJs. I didn't really have a DJ at this time, and I had a partner of mine that had a huge record collection. Matter of fact, he's probably got one of the best old school record collections in South Florida, and his name is Fat Pat. If you never said I ain't never give you no props, I can give me all your props right now, bitch. Fat Pat, you the man. I said, Pat, you know, I need a DJ. He said, man, I got a DJ for you. I said, who? He said, trust me. He took me over there and he took me to this dude named Juan's house. Well, Juan's better known as DJ Wiz. And Wiz had a nice little setup at the house. He had his 1,200 turntables, drum machine doing his thing. And we just hit it off. You know, we became, you know, friends. Ever since then, we just, you know, we started a group, started Andy and DJ Wiz, made our first record, Boom, I Got Your Girlfriend. And from there, the thing just kind of took off. You know, still on the independent label side until Atlantic picked us up. But that's a whole nother story.
However, David Noller, his trip down to Base Station turned into something entirely different that nobody could have been prepared for. By taking Lon Alonso, better known as Ace in the Place, to drive down with them, the two sat down with Eric Griffin behind a board known as the Dynamix, and with the SP12, Emu's SP12 that was mostly unused in hip-hop. The 808 was the gear that made the bass. Eric Griffin was sampling the 808 into the SP12. And they took it multi-tonal, and it has a rapid-fire machine gun sound.
And originally, Eric Griffin had this track called George of the Jungle. Basically just a dome, 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 dome. And, you know, he just, from the old TV Tunes records, he'd scratch it, George, George, George of the Jungle. And that was going to be the name of the track. And basically, we talked him into doing more of an up-tempo track because we wanted to, you know, David and I were into the whole DJ thing. So we brought a bunch of records and said, you know, we'd rather do something more like the Planet Rock style because we like the up-tempo shit. And, you know, Eric Griffin was the one that was kind of tuning the bass kind of before anybody else did. And I think George of the Jungle was kind of the reason, if you think about it, why it made sense to kind of tune the bass into the bass music. They pretty much came up with Give the DJ a Break, and then Dave and I pretty much just added the scratches to it.
The beat was put together. We went back and forth with it and arranged it with him. And then we went to the studio to record it and put the drops in, and Give the DJ a Break was born.
With all these people combined, they made this fantastic monument of our genre known as Just Give the DJ a Break. And with Candyman's money and the push of Base Station as a club and as a label, they changed the genre and caused everyone to run out and find out what machine made this sound. The 808 was suddenly becoming antiquated. The SP12 was a phantom machine that everyone had to get their hands on.
So this is the SP1200. A lot of the best bass music was made on it. It's been a while since I messed with one, but it's like riding a bike, you don't forget. So we're gonna make a simple beat right now. 129 beats per minute. Get a little metronome going here. Start off with a hi-hat. Simple. Turn the metronome down. don't care who you are. Whenever you had an SP1200, you know this is the first thing you did when you had the bass. And there's a bass beat, bass 101.
Here, what you're looking at is the classic original TR-808 1980 edition, original first. And over here is the Roland TR-909, which was issued shortly after the 808, which is, I'm gonna guess it was 82.
And the turntable plays a lot to do with that.
The turntable samples everything on the planet, including the stuff we're not allowed to sample.
And the new piece right here?
Don't tell anybody.
Is?
This is the new school sampler, sequencer, the hardware tool. A lot of kids nowadays like to use software, but you can't get me on software if you pay me. So yeah, this is it. To me, I gotta beat on pads, I gotta twist knobs and get all in it like this. That's how I get that.
Okay. What's that? You hear that? There you go, so.
It's kind of too bad that a television set, won't capture the thump of rap.
So through Marty Michael and Beware, there's a person you linked up with in the early phases that you did some records with. You want to speak on that?
He spins it a different way, but the way I spin it is without Cooley C, there's no KJ, and without KJ, there's no Cooley C. That was what you call a business deal gone right.
First of all, Cooley, Cooley C, I would just like to say thank you very much for being here today. Obviously, born Baltimore, Maryland, Luke Skywalker. How'd that come about? What happened? Back in '86.
I met Luke through this guy named Beware, Beware Records. And him and this guy named Marty Michael, they gave me a chance to perform for Luke. If we rock the club Pac Jam, Luke would sign me. Pac Jam is like the Apollo of Miami, and I'd rocked it. And since then, I recorded with Luke 2 Live, what's 86, 87, 88. Their first record was Throw the Dick, and then the second record was my record, Cheryl and Donna. And we made that record because me and brother Marquise had a girl, and we would just, whatever the song says, that's what happened. And this guy named Big Man, and Big Man, the girl wouldn't give me no pussy. So Big Man slam dunked the girl in the toilet bowl. And that's the truth.
Song, that's the lyric.
That's Cheryl and Donna.
Cheryl and Donna.
1986?
Yes, 86.
Around there?
I think we left Luke, and then we got with Beware, and Let's Get This Party Started rolls out, and it booms.
I want to hear more about like the actual production of Let's Get This Party Started, because I know
Let's Get This Party Started was produced. The idea and everything came from me. I guess the point I'm trying to get to is I was the beat and Cooley was the brains.
Let's Get This Party Started. When does that come out and how does that come about? Okay. He was doing the music and you were singing?
Well, I was doing the music. I was doing everything. And KJ, he was just the DJ.
Okay.
That was the real deal.
But my thing was, yo, man, I want KJ and Cooley C solidified and solid first. So then, Cooley starts working with David No, Dynamics too. I was like, you know, why are you in the studio with them doing shit and performing on their records, and you know what I mean? So I bounced. So I ended up with Foresight. Told Cooley C and Beware, bam, I'm out.
Cut it.
I did Cuties We Gotta. With who? With Cut It Up Def Records. That was a label that I started with a few of my friends that I'm sure you guys have met. Bob Smith and Mark Music introduced me to Bob. And from there on, that was it, man. The label was born. That was the beginning of rap music for us in Palm Beach County on the Lake Worth side. This is Brain Damage.
The records I did back in the bass era started in the 80s. I did Get Retarded. It was KJ and the Fellas. I wrote and co-produced. Got no credit, but that was back then. And I did Give Me That.
You had a different name.
Yeah, that name was, I went under Tuggy Rock back then.
And I'm not getting a check. And I'm like, yo, I came to Cooley. I was like, yo, man, let's go to Foresight. And Cooley was like, no, I'm staying with Beware. I'm not switching anymore. So I was like, yo, I'm bouncing. So I end up down there. And Tuggy Rock, he comes down to the studio with me. And I'm, you know, he's in the studio. It's me, Frank Cornelius, and Jig, and AD, and I'm playing this Get Retarded track. And I didn't have no lyrics to go with it. It's just a track. You know, bump, bump, bump.
Yeah, who created those orchestra badges?
I did all that. Tuggy Rock came up with the, hey, y'all, let's get retarded now that the party started.
Okay.
And I was like, that's it. And we did that record, man. We probably did that record in 20 minutes. I mean, after the hook, it was like 20 minutes. It was done. That's just...
That record took off.
That was just history.
I told him how I wanted the song to go, and he had the beat machine, so we worked it. And so when we got the song complete, it was badass. It was a hit. I went back to Palm Beach while he was in Lauderdale. So when the record was pressed, I went back down to look. It said KJ and the Fellas. There was no Tuggy Rock on there. So I got pissed off, figured I'd stick with gangster rap. Went back to the drawing board.
Brain Damage was born.
Brain Damage was born. Next track I did, once I finished with Get Retarded, I jumped on with Danny D and DJ Wiz. And we did
Boys from the Bottom.
Boys from the Bottom. We did what? Give Me That Thing.
Give Me That Thing.
Papa Smirk, Can't Lick My Ass.
Yeah, lick my ass, bitch.
You know, we did that song, and you know, and we did the Boys from the Bottom album. We did 2 albums, and I did my solo album, Brain Damage, which was supposed to be a straight thug gangster album. And but Hot Productions wasn't really having that at the time because all they wanted was bass. Boom, boom, boom.
That's
boom.
all anybody wanted back then was bass.
Yeah, so
Real rappers got no play. Real hip hop got no play on the radios or anywhere. Jam Pony gave real rap play, but as far as us doing real lyrical stuff, it wasn't getting no play.
And I break them off something right now.
It ain't Joami, it's Miami. I'ma state it from the gate. It's your favorite Chico, fading your favorites, custom made and dated. The best of the best, creme de la creme. It's the top of the line, exquisite design. It's that cat that make them donuts for your chick to nibble on, drool and dribble on. Watch me while I get my swivel on. Chico Deluxe, I got that platinum lining. And when I'm rhyming, I'm worth your weight in diamonds. Now when I elaborate, it's so elaborate. Fuck the bullshit you fabricate. I'm cabin stabbing it. I put it out there for the mommies to be grabbing it, and we'll be walking the beach. You'll be crabbing it. Watch me now, cause I'ma split your shit. Don't make me spit your clip.
Don't give a nigga nothing else. Don't give a nigga nothing else. Don't give him nothing else, dog.
Take your ass out
Don't
the
give him
game.
nothing else. Don't give him
Some
nothing else.
serious
Don't give him nothing else. Calm down, dog. Calm down. Nah, see me now.
Me and Brain Damage were trying to get signed to Beware Records. But what happened was one night I got a phone call and Brain Damage and Cooley were on the phone. Cooley asked me if I wanted to DJ for him, and Brain Damage was going to go with Dynamics 2. And I was like, hell yeah, you know. So that's how me and Cooley got together. And from that day forth, you know, we just started doing stuff.
I had an idea to mix merengue with Miami Booty Shake. I said, let me give it a whack. So I'm at home one day and I grabbed the Wilfredo Vargas album that had El Africano on it, which is Mami en Negro. I took the Clay D instrumental and I started mixing this record and it actually went perfect. So I'm like, oh shit, this sounds good. So that night I had a mix show and I said, oh fuck it, I'm gonna try it. So I played the record, boom, and I scratch it, and all of a sudden, bro, the phone lines lit up. People are like, yo, what's that record? It's like, it's not a record. I basically just experimenting, having a good time.
The original mashup.
That's exactly. And I got such an overwhelming response on the radio that day that I said, shit, this really should be like a record. So I had met Danny D. So I played the Boom I Got Your Girlfriend record on the radio, and people went crazy for that. So I said, shit, I should link up with Danny and DJ Wiz, my concept, let Danny, you know, write and do the verses and everything, make the track, let's go. So we got in the studio, and we made this record. Everybody, every label that I went to told me, oh, it's a novelty, it's a nice novelty, but it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. And finally, right here in my own backyard, I went to go see Bo Crane over at Pandas Music. Sat in his office, and he's like, here's the record. He's like, yeah, I like it. It's different. Fuck it, let's do something. So, went in the studio, made the record with Danny. Record comes out, record explodes. And I remember sitting in the limo with Danny D. We had just done a show in San Francisco. And he said, dude, we made it. He said to me in the limo. And you know, at that time, you're like, yeah, you're in a different state. You know, people are loving your music. Hell yeah, we made it. And the success of the single was so good that Bo Crane said, hey, lads, how about we do an album? Because that's, you know, that's where the money's at. I'm like, shit, yeah, why not? Let's go. Let's go do an album. So we sat in the studio and, you know, got together with everybody that I was fucking with at the time. Breezy B, everybody that I said, fuck it, let's go do something. And then the album was born. And there was no title for the album, so it was just self-titled DJ Laz with the most horrendous picture of me ever. You know, you look back now and you go, shit, the hell were we thinking? But the album took off. And all these different records started popping off. And it was at that point, and at that time, nobody had done Spanish and English booty, so it was something different. It was innovative. It was something different. And that's when, you know, it caught a lot of attention, and a lot of different people were like, yo, I'm gonna fuck with this guy. This, you know, it's a completely different feel. And then the next album comes along, and the record just started getting better and better, and shit. The last album I dropped now was about 3-4 years ago, maybe a little longer, Category 6, which had Move Shake Drop with Pit, Flow, and that record just out of it.
Are you people ready for some more bass?
The three major South Florida radio stations who were instrumental in the popularity of Miami bass were 99 Jams, Hot 105, and Power 96. And respect must be given to the late Bo Griffin and Don Cox.
I actually came up with the name 2BMF while we were with Cheetah Records. This is right when we were leaving because Tom said, look, this is what we got to do. We want to make you and Mike Jewish another group. So this way you don't have to work with Mike. And again, I don't know if Mike didn't want to work with us or if Tom was making this up. I don't know, you know. So anyways, Tom said, he says, look, this is what I want you guys to do. I want you to be like a white version of True Live Crew. So I came up with a song called Let's Make Some Noise, and it was, you know, it was a dirty rap, and that's how I made that song. We started to record it, but we never finished it. Actually, I did a show in that same club, Futura, and we performed Make Some Noise off of a cassette tape, right off a cassette tape, because that's what we had back then. So after that show, I met this guy named Ned, and he
asked if he could manage us. So we did. We signed a contract with him, and we went that route, and he managed us. So that's how, so he was the one to actually release We Can Get Together, which we recorded in Hollywood Sync.
This leads to your working with Lon Alonzo.
Yes.
How did that come about?
Somehow I met Jock, but I think it must have been a show we had together.
You guys were in another transition with labels, and I was like, we got the Cut It Up Death thing going on, and then you guys decided to roll with Lon with the Ace records.
Right, because you and Lon wanted to do a remix of We Could Get Together.
Yes, exactly.
And then we did Dogging Ya, and then I believe Jock had started a beat at one time. I don't believe we had the title at that time, or it might have been Pushing the Bush. It might have been the title. That's one of the first ones that I brought to him. Because Pushing the Bush was actually something I originally recorded as Vicious Beat a long time ago in Hideway, actually.
Dolly, who's 80?
I'm your bass mechanic.
Got with one of my partners and went to the Royal Sound of Music, which was in the Lauderhill Mall, and that was owned by Billy Hines, which is MCADE's father. And we went in there to try and get a rap record deal. They weren't really looking for any rap groups at the time. They noticed, that I was a DJ and I was like one of the first white dudes to be doing any type of turntablism or cuts or anything back then down here. So Adrian, ADE, decided to jump on that. So at that point, I was really into the Miami bass, really getting into the music, and I decided to branch out. So I said, I'm getting tired of being in the back here. And I broke out, did my own track, which was called It's Time to Rock the House, and broke away from ADE. I had a lot of fun doing that stuff, but had to do my own thing, do my own music.
I mean, I was influenced by some of the Miami groups, not too many of them, but some of them. Gucci Crew, my homie Half Pint, Poison Clan, Two Live Crew. I was influenced by that music, but they sound was Miami, and I wanted to keep my sound Palm Beach, you know what I mean?
I barely slid my way in. Matter of fact, Danny D from West Palm Beach, DJ Wiz from West Palm Beach, and we had that shit on lock, second to loop.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So, learning from Dave Nola and Lon, they taught me how to run the SP1200. And I'm my own influence, you know what I mean? I want to influence other people, which I did in the ATL, you know what I mean? It's like they took the style and they ran with it, you know what I'm saying? Being from Florida, because Atlanta is so inspired by the Miami bass that when I came to Atlanta, they embraced me. It's like open arms. They took me in that style. And then Lil Jon came about, and Yin Yang Twins came about. All that from that Kid Money influencing. You know what I mean? That's where that came from.
The Boot the Booty thing was a blessing. Again, I was just actually getting my feet wet. Had just really linked up with Clay, and he was telling me, "Yo, man, I got a session tonight." He had already priorly flew Mike in, for the DJing part of it. Half Pint was there, Bobby Ford Sr. was there, an abundance of women. It was a beautiful night. Basically I was just there morally supporting. I was able to get on the record as a person in the background. Chazzy Chaz, salute to you, brother, wherever you are. I didn't understand bass music because I'm a New Yorker. So I had to learn to appreciate it. But it was the drive in the boom, the lows of that music that just grabbed me. And see them girls shaking their ass to it? Man, come on, it got no better than that. So, along with, like I said, with the booty thing, it was just a bunch of people in the lab. They vibing out, Clay and them doing what they do. I'm watching Clay latest track, like in the lab, later track. Mike going in on the scratches. And we just all boot the boot there. You know what I'm saying? That record was all overseas, Japan. I remember going places with them that I've never been, never thought I'd see in my life, simply because that record took off the way it did.
To me, it's hip hop. It all comes from hip hop. It all came from Africa Bambaataa, Planet Rock, Kool Herc, the parties, and the breakdancing and just the vibe of that, and it just spread throughout the world. And California had their own thing with it, and you know, Miami had its own thing. So when I came down here, I kind of brought my New York element, you know, just like the others, just like Prince Raheem and Cooley was from Baltimore, KJ was from New York. We all came down here and we had that vibe up there. We kind of brought that down here and mixed it up with what was going on down here with the disco, the Pretty Tony, Electro, and all that stuff. Cut It Up Def. So I was DJing and I was at this DJ battle. It was this club that was pretty popular in West Palm Beach called the Fun House. But it was a teen club first, and it was called RJ's, and they were having a contest to see who was going to be the resident DJ. So Jimbo backspun It's Time for like 15 minutes. I went on and I ended up winning. It was in Palm Beach and it was my hometown, so I'm sure that had something to do with it. But when I got off the stage, very angry young Puerto Rican man by the name of Johnny Torres ran up to me, very irate that I had won. Because
he said that you were like, motherfucker, what's up, motherfucker? Dude, you gonna be my DJ. And then, listen to me, it's not a lie. I'm not bullshit. Listen, it's not a lie. Not a lie. I was definitely, listen, when he got off stage, I told Aaron, where's Aaron? I told Aaron, I'm going to beat that white boy's ass right now. Because he took the money. We ain't got nothing now. We were talking about Denny's. That was our drinking money. Basically, you pulled a Rick Sos on one. So then what I said was, no, so then what I did was, I just said, fuck it. I said, well, look, kid. I said, all right, you know what? You're going to DJ on my first record. Fuck that. I'm going to put you on my first record. You're going to be my DJ. Because you know why? Because really and honestly, Jimbo, Jealous J, really, okay, he was with Gemini, but really?
15 minutes of yelling and arguing and being angry. 20 minutes later, he wanted me to be his DJ. So then I went to the satellite warehouse that Bob Smith was running. Met Gemini, already knew Aaron and Johnny and Jimbo from that night at the contest, but met Gemini, met Bob, met his son, and I just liked the vibe of the people and what they wanted to do. They wanted to do some real stuff and gave us an opportunity.
I was DJing at a couple, local clubs and, skating rinks, this ice skating rink at Lighthouse Point, and doing, occasional contests. And I ran into this guy, Aaron Goney, Aaron G, as you guys know him. And he approached me about doing this record label joint venture with a gentleman named Bob Smith. And so we went up and met with Bob. Bob had a satellite dish company, back when satellites were the size of this house. So he was able to fund this label and kind of get us some equipment to start. So he bought us 808 drum machine and an SP12 drum machine and all the little tools we needed, and we started from there. And we were making beats, and I was doing most of the beat making at the time. And then we ran into this other guy named Willie. He was called Gemini, and he was a serious rapper. Back in the day, we were like, this dude is the man,
The best who done it, right? And yeah, I'm talking the whole town. Chillin' out with Mike Tati on the cut. We the boys who make it in town.
Yeah, man, but when we first got started, dude, nobody had an idea of how large this thing was gonna be. For real. We were just having fun. And just kids making music and enjoying it, man, and for the love of it, man. It wasn't, for the money, no nothing, man. It was pure. You know what I'm saying? And that was the fun thing about it, man. And that's how it is now. When it starts becoming a business, dude, that's when it starts becoming, something that you can't relate to.
Well, fortunately, we can't escape that, and I guess money nowadays is something you don't have to worry about because nobody's really making music business now.
Yeah,
now
but
you
look,
gotta love it to do it.
But you're still doing it though, right? For what?
That's why we're still doing it.
For the love of it, baby.
Yeah.
John Ski came into the picture, Johnny Torres, and then I was introduced to this young man named Chris, Jock D. He was super dope as a DJ, and he kind of came in as like the reinforcements. It made our team super strong. We had 2 DJs, 2 producers. We were kind of responsible for the majority of the music at that time, and it kind of started growing from there. I think Gemini even dabbled in making some beats and stuff. That's kind of where I got my start.
And then it got to a point where we used to pass beats off to each other, and like Jimbo would do a beat, I would do a breakdown, and you would do some other patterns, and I think that had a lot to do with some of these records doing as good as they did.
Yeah, man, it was a competition, man. We were brothers, but yeah, we wanted to outdo each other. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, that's love, man. And it helped make us better artists. You know what I'm saying? You know that.
87, 88, we stumbled across a couple of decent records that we thought were decent, and they ended up being really good and turned into some regional hit records, you know. Cut It Up Death. There was one called Miami Skeezer that we did, Chris and I, Party Time, and a bunch of records. It was just every couple of months we would drop a 12-inch, which was great. Before I decided to throw in the towel, I got with a close friend of mine named Calvin Puckett, we call Cooley C, and we opened up our own studio and started working the studio together. And I kind of left Slip and Slide for a little while there, and we opened up our own studio in Fort Lauderdale. And that went really well. We both, you know, we made some great music together, and so I went from there kind of back to Slip and Slide for a little while. Hooked up with this guy Big D. He's a really nasty guitar player, producer, and I told him, look, get with me, let's write some real music, let's try to do something. Pretty Ricky happened upon this record that me and Big D did called Grind on Me. At the same time, around 3 weeks later, an artist named Pitbull cut to a track of mine and did a song called Damn It Man. He actually cut the record with Calvin and I in the studio. Calvin engineered that session, and we didn't know what he was going to do with it. He released it and it blew up. So Grind on Me blew up, that blew up, and Ted Lucas called me and said he had this idea. He wanted to put Trick over this one record that I had played for him a long time ago. And when I played it for him a long time ago, he told me it was too rock for Trick. It's too much. He's a rap artist. But Trick loved it. They decided to cut it. A young man named Case One wrote the chorus to it. Little John cut it. Twister featured. Let's go. So I had 3 top 10 records back to back. Pretty Ricky got signed. A lot of great things happened in that year, 2004, and then in 2005. My life changed. I won Songwriter of the Year, Producer of the Year with BMI, and things just really started to happen then,
Also releasing Miami Bass Jams Volume 2, and I thought a big part of that would be to get Gemini involved to do the actual anthem of the relaunch of the label, to actually do the track Cut It Up Death Part 2. So that's what we're doing tonight, and getting ready to get in the studio and drop some of these tracks.
Hey man, I'm glad to be back, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Glad to have you back.
You don't forget shit, man.
I guess there's nothing left to do but just go up and do what we always do.
One baby.
DJ is on the TOP, Jock D's his name, Gemini is me. Pioneers of the game as I claim the fame. Too much bass and you know who's to blame. To you weak DJs, you ain't ready for this. Focus, man, so you don't miss. The illest DJ on the cut today. Yo, D. Cut it up, cut it up,
Hey, what's up, America? This Q-Dog from the Splat Pack.
Yo, what's happening? This your boy Uncle Head, Splat Pack.
We've been doing this thing for a long time. Y'all want to know something about us and what we did?
Palm Beach County.
All day, huh?
Born and raised, Revere, The Raw, Palm Beach County. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is.
Now see, what we did them songs, shake that ass.
Rub the grind.
Let me see you work it.
Slow head.
Smoke one.
Tip for the strip.
Shall we go on?
Pump it with your arm, man.
Yeah. We did this thing with Kid Money.
It was the Splat Pack. The reason I came up with the Splat Pack name is because where I'm from, it was like a lot of groups. Like you had Two Live Crew, you had Poison Clan, you had Gucci Crew. So I wanted a little crew.
I ain't gonna lie, I thank Kid for putting me in the game, you know what I'm saying, introduced me to the music scene, because he was already out.
Oh yeah, he was doing that thing since he was in high school.
Right.
And it's crazy, because all of us had the same idea for Scrub the Ground.
Yeah.
I was down here, I called Kid, dog, I got a mean ass song. What it's called? Scrub the Ground. He was like, dog, we thought about the same shit.
Yeah.
So that's how Scrub the Ground came about. Really, Scrub the Ground came about because we said Scrub the Ground and shake that ass. That was just a little chant. Let me see you scrub the grind. So we like, damn, that's a motherfucking hit right there.
Disco Rick took me to the Rolex, and I was only like 16. And I went in there and I saw this chick named Suede, and she was doing this dance and all these magic tricks, and I'm 16, so I went home and I worked that coochie from seeing Shorty at the Rolex at that time. And then I came to Bob, I didn't have the beat, and I was like, Bob, this is how the song goes. And I like goes, I mean, he said, you know, exactly, and I told him the lyrics, and he was like, he liked it. My DJ at that time was Chuck G and Ray Lowe from them Damn Dogs. We was a little group. Chuck did the original Work That Coochie beat. So the beat was already done by Chuck G. All Kid did was add a little 808 to it and segment the beat, but Chuck did the original. So went in there, got Work That Coochie signed to Cut It Up Def. About 3 weeks later, bought Sean and Head in from Splack Pack and got them signed to Cut It Up Def for Shake That Ass.
The junior high school, first day of school, I go in the lunchroom and they're banging, rapping on the tables, banging on the tables. I'm like, oh, I could do that. So it's like, let me get in. He let me in. I rap. It's like, you can rap. Yeah. So one guy says, I live next door to 2 Live Crew. The light goes off. So I go over the next day. They're there. And I went every day. Every day.
They were all living there in the same house?
In the same house was, it was Kid Ice, Fresh Kid Ice, Brother Marquise and Mr. Mix. They are in the same place, so I just would sit out of the way and observe, and I was there when, you know, a lot of the songs came up. So a lot of the songs that came about, I was the kid over sitting to the side. And then shortly after that, me and Mr. Mix, we hook up. He comes up with this beat, and, you know, it's Everybody Say Yeah beat. Around that time, they had just finished Move Something. Everybody Say Yeah beat was in the mix of that, and he played it for me. He gave it to me on the cassette. It's like, hey, take this and, you know, write a song to it. I got into writing. I wasn't a writer. I would just freestyle and make it up out of my head. But I'm looking around the house for different ideas, things like that, and I go through the TV guide, and I see The Littlest Outlaw in the movie section. So I sat at the kitchen table. I'm an outlaw, outdoing everybody. That's how it came about.
We had actually discovered this studio in Davie, Florida, you know, called Hideway Studio, a guy by the name of Jimmy Starr. We would go over there and we could lay the beats at Jimmy's. I mean, he had everything we needed. Sampled the guitar riff from Hey, We Want Some Pussy, and came up with that little da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It allowed me to record it, and I used to hang out at this, I don't know if you know Aventura, Florida. It's not known for booty music that I know of or anything like that, but there was a place called Randolph's at Loman's Plaza, and that's where I got the idea for that hook. When I say chicken, you say head. I knew Luke and them had hooks like that, you know, call and response type deals. Just lucked out with that little riff. Did it all at Hideway. Ended up playing it for Stevie. I was thinking it, at best, Chicken Head would be a B-side. And I had another song called Get Up and Dance, which later became a song called It Ain't a Crime. And that was really what I was pushing to him. He was like, nah, man, this your hit right here, this your hit. And he was calling out Chicken Head. So he came to Hideway. It was the first time he met Jimmy Starr. Played a little bass riff and added some claps. I mean, he was clapping me to death. He said, man, you gotta have an open mind. I was like, all right, my mind's open. My understanding is he played it for Funky Frank at Power 96 at a gas station. And they put it in one of those Battle of the Bands, and we were like #1 for 7 nights straight. And I didn't even know they were playing it on the record until one of my boys came by. Hey, man, did you hear? I was like, did I hear what? He said, he knows. I was like, what the fuck do I know? I don't know anything. And they're like, dude, they played your record on Power 96. And I remember that was like a turning point for me, you know. People would actually ride out to the ranches and pick me up and hang out, you know. My life changed that day.
In Puerto Rico, I lived in a place called Calle, and I guess I was one of the only rappers there, but I guess being 15 or 16 years old, that's a way to get respect at the time. Was to battle people. I was immediately looking to battle whoever I could battle in order to get a name for myself. I guess the first thing on the agenda was to pick out some sort of nickname. Well, I said, I'm from Chicago. It's breezy over there, so I said, I'm gonna be breezy. It's gotta be a little deeper than that. I added the beat, and then I added the MC. So Breezy Beat MC came to pass.
me and my DJ Dave, Dave might have been responsible for introducing me to Breezy. We started doing some production for him, and out of those efforts came, you know, his hit record. What was that song called? Shake the Joint. Yeah, Shake the Joint, that's what it was. We did the original production on it. The beat, Dave did all the scratches, you know, jacked one of my father's classic records, you know, and spun that. It was a real fun thing. It was like, man, you know, we're getting some production, we'll hook somebody up, who knows, man, we can turn this into something, and it turned into something other than what we expected.
By way, I believe, a friend of mine, John Bianco, he introduced me to Claudio, like Debonair. We went to his house, Debonair heard the song, he fell in love with it, he thought it was a great idea. We recreated it and we went to the studio again. Jimmy Starr's Hideway, I redid the vocals, Nasty put the cuts on Shake the Joint and on Catch My Drift. Long story short, I took the record and I gave it to my buddy Laz, and Laz went ahead and he fell in love with it and he spun it, and I'm sure he was the first guy to spin Shake the Joint on the radio.
I think the next time I heard it was on the radio. It's like, damn, sounds a little like what we did. I mean, he SP1200 it up, but you know, basically the same track.
I was driving home from the Broward Mall, and I remember like hearing it come on and pulling off to the side of the road, and I started to cry.
When My Got Your Girlfriend came about, when I was at the Art Institute, I was back in 88, 89, and I met up with this guy named Danny Spawn, aka Danny D. He wanted to get some samples. He had this SP12 back then, not the 1200, he had the one with the big floppy disk. And I had a what they call a rolling 909. Right. And he really liked that kick, so he came in the studio one day and brought the SP12 in there. We talked a little bit, and you know, I gave some samples off the 909, and you know, we started collaborating in as far as, you know, we started talking about music. Well, one day he came into the studio. He had this idea. He said he was just driving, and it came to him. He was like, "Wow, Boom, I Got Your Girlfriend." He said it just popped in his head. Long story short, we recorded the song in the studio that day. And Danny had some connections with the guy from Hideway Records in California. David Williams was distributing for Beware Records. And he decided that he liked the song, wanted to sign us, and brought us out to California. The song was doing pretty good. We toured out there a little bit out in California, and then all of a sudden they decided, let's do a follow-up record with a girl version. We were looking around for a girl, looking around, you know, trying out different rappers, female rappers, and I said, hey, wait a minute. I have a cousin. I described her. She's basically what everybody was looking for. We actually had to record the vocals, and she actually listened to us, you know, our voices, and memorized it. Went back in the studio, we laid the tracks on her, and that's kind of how it took off. And all of a sudden, that song did a lot better than the version that we did.
I happened to hear their song on the radio first. And I said, one day a girl should do that Answer record, because back then Answer records were the thing. And next thing you know, it was me who did that song. So that's how I got started. And that's how I did Boom, I Got Your Boyfriend. I really didn't expect that it would overshadow Boom, I Got Your Girlfriend, because Danny and the boys from the bottom, they were actually out doing their thing, and Danny was supposed to do a video to Boom, I Got Your Girlfriend. But instead, that didn't happen for whatever reason or the other. And then, I don't know, it blew up. Once we got a major distribution deal through Avenue, the song blew up all over again, because the song originally came out in 1989. And then when we got the bigger distribution through Avenue, it came out again in 1991. So technically it came out in the South first, and then it went nationwide all over the world.
Well, I think we first made Ride Out together.
Yeah,
Ride Out. After we did Ride Out, I said, hold on, I got another track that's just crazy.
Yeah.
I put the Daz Band on 45, and we came up with Run Forrest Run.
Run Forrest Run, yeah. From the movie, we was watching the movie Forrest Gump or so, and we was laughing about it.
And then that thing just took off. It sold a lot of records, and I still ain't got my royalties yet.
Yeah, we got to deal with our priority records.
Yeah.
Priority, y'all need to, you know.
I know y'all went bankrupt, chapter 13, but I still ain't getting it. The only money I got from that was from you.
Yeah.
I probably ain't charged you enough.
Yeah.
I probably ain't charged that dude enough.
My goal was to get on a jam on it
how do I get a song on a Jam Pony tape?
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to do. I'm hanging out with Big Ace and Jam Pony Lockjaw, watching them cats. I'm like, can y'all take one of my records and then Run for His Run?
Yeah.
They would start Mike spin Run for His Run. There was Mike taking it. Yeah, I remember I was hanging out on Fort Lauderdale Beach with some friends. We were just hanging out and this car cruised by and they was playing Ride Out. And they stopped at a light. We were standing there and all you could hear is Ride Out. You hear Slick Big Mike checking Ride Out. I'm like, that's us. And we knew we were successful there. Hey, shout out to Jimmy Starr, man. A lot of us spent a lot of time in Hideway studio. Jimmy Starr was the man. He was our circle house. He was our.
Jimmy Starr was the man.
He's still around doing this thing.
What's up, y'all? My name is Jimmy Starr. This is Hideway Recording Studio. This is where a lot of the bass hits were done back in the day. Come and check it out. The stump at the Apollo Theater that you rub, that was kind of like me back in the day in here, Anything. Huh?
What did he rub?
Oh, well, they didn't rub anything. It was just the vibe. I got the same aura. Yeah, a lot of the hits back in the day were done in here. Afro-Rican, Give It All You Got, DJ Laz, Oye Morena, MC Zeus, Breezy Beat, a lot of Fresh Kid Ice stuff done in here. Luis Diaz, the Diaz brothers. Luis started in here as a rock and roll drummer when he was about 15, 16 years old. Jim Johnson started in here. He was a DJ called DJ Jealous J. He was Jealous J back in the day, and he cut it up pretty good on that table over there. Luis Diaz, like I said, he was a rock and roll drummer, and he kind of asked me, hey, I want to get into this engineering thing, and I believe I told him to go to Miami-Dade Junior College. I knew they had a good program, so he went down there, and bam, he is what he is today. Back in the day, it was only 8 tracks. I had an 8-track mixing console, and we synced it up with the SP1200, and literally through the 3.5 minutes, there was 5 guys in there. Phil Jones from Power 96 helped us too. And there was marks all over the sliders and the knobs, and halfway through the song, you'd turn it up and pan it to the left, and then bring it down to the next mark at 2 minutes and pan it to the right, and just crazy stuff like that back in the day. And if you messed up, you had to start all over again. And it was printed on that reel-to-reel machine behind me. Give It All You Got, Run Forest Run, all that, Oye Morena, all them were done on this 2-track. I got some antique speakers. I don't even know how old these speakers are, but that was an important part of my mixing technique back in the day. And these will knock your socks off. If you crank them up, they'll knock you backwards.
But before it was on a tape, it was a 1/4-inch tape or 1/2-inch tape, 2-track stereo. Once I get the reel-to-reel tape, 1/4-inch or 1/2-inch, from the studio, it's up to me to retweak it, because from the studio, it's not really up to standards for radio. It's usually what's called flat. So according to what kind of music it is, whether it's bass or just it's a disco back then, or a cello with a piano, is how I EQ. And I put all the compression and the limiters and all that technical stuff. What I have here is an actual test cut of a record. This is a lacquer, and I have it under a microscope. And you can actually see the grooves. The black lines are the grooves of the record. The vibration is the audio itself, which your record player plays back. Because the needle that drops on your record player will actually vibrate according to these vibrations. And then your amplifier amplifies those vibrations. This example that I'm showing is, I can tell it's very soft music. I have to be very, very careful when I'm mastering those bass records, because the grooves are very, very wide. And that's because of the bass itself. There's a lot of electronic sounds trying to imitate the 808.
Right.
And when I master a CD nowadays, I can tell they're trying to imitate it, but that's all they're doing, trying. You can't get that 808 sound the way that 808 brings it.
At the age, I think, of 19, my brother started a label with Danny Canary. So, me being the little brother, of course, I was there all the time and never really at school, skipping school, going to the studio every day. So they started a label and they signed a group called Real Raw. Okay, so then we're sitting there, blah, blah. I'm just, I'm a little kid at this point, I'm just observing what's going on. I have no idea, really
the magnitude of what's happening, you know. I showed up to the studio and they were like, this is the single we're gonna put out. You know, it's called Drop Them Drums.
Stupid deaf and it's down by law. We got a brand new dance called Drop Them Drums.
My brother goes, you know, he stopped the half-inch 8-track, you know, that everybody was working on. And he was like, what do you think? And I'm like, honestly? And he's like, yeah. I go, I think it's horrible. He's like, why? I'm like, cause, you know, the way they were, I guess the way they approached the beat at that time really wasn't like what was going on with Luke and Come On Baby at that time was really hot and all that stuff. So he's like, well, why? Because it needs to sound like this. And I pulled out Come On Baby and I played it. And, you know, my brother was like, oh, wow, okay, I see what's going on. You know what I mean? So, scratched the whole beat. We just kept the vocals and rebuilt the whole song, you know, modeling after the Come On Baby record.
See, with the Real Raw project, that was still kind of Miami ghetto bass, and I was more on the whole freestyle electronic vibe. That's what I was digging. I was digging. My goal was to mesh this freestyle sound that I'm hearing and this 808 drum machine. This is what I wanted to do. Okay, I wasn't hearing that in Planet Rock. I wasn't hearing that in any of this stuff. They were all using Lindrum stuff. So I was working on my little side thing that I was doing.
Was that Power Patrol?
That was, yes, I was the beginnings of the Power Patrol stuff. But it wasn't even Power Patrol. There was no Demas Martinez, no Curtis Lehman, no Luis Diaz. This is just me fucking around in the studio. Can I say fucking around? Moments in Bass turned out to be like a B-side record that actually carried the A-side record. It turned out to be a very successful record. That was on the flip side of Hump All Night. She's the kind of girl that wants to hump all night. And that was the A side of the record. The B side was Moments in Bass, and that was just something that I was fucking around with in the studio. And Lazaro needed fillers, so I was, you know, let's do it. And all the musical stuff that Lazaro's got, all the tracks, the Red Alert, Journey into Bass. That's all the musical stuff that he's got. Not the ghetto bass stuff, but the musical stuff is all my contributions to the album. I wasn't really happy with my credits on the album. I got keyboard credits on these albums. I co-produced these albums. If not more so produced them with Danny D, more so than Lazaro.
And Eric was different. Eric was very outgoing. He was direct in your face. He says, can you rap? Let me hear you now. And this is over the phone. So I did my best rendition of what I thought at that particular time a female LL Cool J would sound like. And he liked it. And the rest is history. From there, we cut Make It Mellow. It was placed on Bass Station Records. It's horrible to say that Norberto was shortly murdered after that. We then did Getting Bass. I was the first female rap artist to actually score a 6-figure deal. I had a publishing deal, and it made Newsweek magazine. We were really shrewd, and we knew what we wanted, and we went for it. Needless to say, Miami at that point in time was not really looked upon as real rap. I'm from New York, from the Bronx, New York, and people in New York used to call it corny rapping. Anything from the South was corny. But we knew that we had something original.
We decided to get in a talent show. I don't know what made us get in the talent show, but Clay Dede, he was down there and he heard our music, and that's how we got started on that.
And he said, I got some beats. He said, you think y'all can do something with them? Remember? And he gave us the CD. He dropped us off home.
Oh, he actually gave us the idea to write the word. That what was going on around at the time. And our manager, Nathan Moss, he was like the big trickster. So we knew what to write about.
And I'm the executive producer of Breakaway Records. Clay D one day, he said, I got some girls who was at the club. And Clay D is like, boom, I got your boyfriend. He said, I got the answer to that song. I said, yeah, I want to meet those girls. It ain't took but a matter of seconds. Once I heard the record, it blew me away.
15, 20 minutes. Clay D actually left us. He was like, all right, y'all think y'all find something to write about? He actually hadn't even gotten home. And we called him. He was like, hey.
Yeah, we were finished.
He's like, you gotta be kidding. I said, I think you're gonna like this. He came right back turn around. He listened to the tape. And hey!
Yo, you tuned in to Charles Trahan right now from the former group Young and Restless, also aka The Real One, and now go by the name of Mr. Charlie. But we're gonna start back in the days when I first started out with the Miami bass music. It was I met a dude named Lenaris Johnson in high school, and we met P-Man Sam. You know, we used to bother him at the bass station. It was a club that he used to run, and he always knew we wanted to rap. So he said, you know, if y'all really want a record deal, I want y'all to battle this group here. So it was like a spontaneous thing, right on the spot, and we beat the group. And next day, it took about a month for him to come see us. So about a month later, we end up meeting back up with him, and he introduced us to Eric Griffin, R.I.P., who was the producer at that time. And he made us a beat that had an original group, the Coasters, called Poison Ivy. And he had it sampled in there, and he had this paper already for us to do the rap, and it was singing on there. He wanted to sing like, I know a girl named Trudy, and then wanted me to say, not Trudy, got that booty. So we looked at Sam like, man, we don't want to sing, we want to rap. But you know, at that time, you know, we didn't understand the importance of having a producer. So we ended up singing the song, and you know, next thing you know, it just blew up overnight. So after that, we also went to the studio and did a song called B-Girls that Lenore's wrote. And the song just had the same effect. It just blew up and took off. We started doing shows, and it's like it was an overnight success. We went on tour with Public Enemy, Kid and Play, Tupac. And we was hanging with Tupac on the tour. Ice Cube, you name it. So it was a success, just like an overnight success.
Along with basic production, more intricate forms of editing existed.
Yeah, so me and Ron used to hang together. We used to just hang, so we became like really good friends. And actually, he's one of my best friends to this day. And then me and Ron, I taught Ron how to edit. And then, cause I got a reel-to-reel at home, I showed him how to edit. He showed Wayne how to edit. And then he put us together, and he was like, I'll manage you guys. It just wasn't like, I'm gonna put you guys together, I'm gonna manage you. It just sort of happened. It was like, it was really organic. It just happened.
Basically, editing is when you recorded your song and a rhythm to tape, and then you mark your tape, and you're actually cutting the tape to create a different rhythm out of what you've recorded. So it's like that's how you get the stutter step and different edit effect. And I guess I learned that from being on the radio stations, just being around the studio a lot. It was part of the music production process. Kevin Flournoy, Phil Jones, Bob Rosenberg, some of the people that showed me how to edit, definitely.
The first time I seen somebody do it was Phil Jones. And once I seen it, I was like, I knew I was gonna be doing that. I knew that's something I was gonna be getting into. I didn't know how, but I knew I was gonna be getting into it.
I think Security was a growth spurt for the whole Miami bass sound. You know, I did some scratches on there and editing work, which kind of enhanced it a little more and gave it a little edge over a lot of other songs that were out at the time.
Yeah, you know, Beat Club. Yeah, that was a big record, man.
After its popularity, and people were telling me, oh, how big it was as an international song and in Europe and different areas in Germany. And when I told people I worked on that song, you know, I got a lot of surprised looks. And it felt good, you know. That song got picked up on Atlantic Records, so it was cool.
Yeah, it got picked up on Atlantic, but anything that at the time that was big in South Florida, Atlantic, you remember Atlantic was signing everything.
One of the deepest lows that I've ever experienced was the separation of Magic Mike and myself. He's a dude who I admired, I looked up to. He was older than me. He shielded me from a lot of things. He showed me a lot of things about the business, about the industry. Ultimately, what transpired was there was an incident where Mike did cuts on the Chilla Frost record. Mike was supposed to get it paid. Everything was supposed to be what it was. Basically, Clay told the people at the label that he owned Mike. That's what it was. Mike was like, man, I ain't owned by nobody. No label, no artist, no producer, nobody. You know what I'm saying? He came to me and he was like, yo, Rob, man, I'm about to break out on this, man. I'm not feeling this. You know what I'm saying? And I want you to come with me. The one thing he really never understood was, as a 15-year-old child, you know what I'm saying? I'm at a point where I'm doing what I always wanted to do in life. And now he's telling me to give this all up, and he has nowhere for us to go. You understand me? Faced in that plight, I did what I felt I needed to do for me as an artist. And I made the ultimate sacrifice and the ultimate decision to stay with Clay. But again, you know what I'm saying, Mike, I ain't never had nothing but love for you. You my dude, always will be regardless. You know what I'm saying? Salute to you, bro. I appreciate all you did do for me.
Bass music continues to influence new generations of artists and producers.
Back in the 80s, there was a club called Weekends in Boca Raton, Florida, home of Jealous J, Jock D, Exotic E. A lot of the boys came from there. Eddie B, Johnny Quest. We all hung around each other. We all did music. MC Gemini, my school alumni. Fast forward a couple years later, this guy, MC Romeo, was looking for producers, and somehow he ended up being recommended to him that, this guy Aaron, nobody really knows about him, but he's really good with music. So he came to me and said he had an idea for a song. He was trying to tap into that Tampa, Orlando feel of Miami music. Went to Hideway Studios with Jimmy Starr. Told Jimmy what I was looking for, and we put the record together. Actually, it kind of backtracked and went to Jealous J, and kind of pulled me in to work with him with Paper Chasers on, as an in-house producer, and just kind of stayed in the background on the scene from that point.
Year 2004, I did a song called City of Bass, and what I did when I created that is I was like, if I was producing music during the heyday of Miami bass, what would I have done? Bass, 808, from day one until now, and always will be a part of my music.
This right here, man.
Right there, boy.
This is what we love to do, Miami bass. I think without DJ FX, Mega John, Juanito, Tech Master, there'd be no Sound Chasers. There wouldn't be.
Our style is based off of a little bit of all of those guys. A lot of early Dynamics too.
Yeah.
Magic Mike.
Magic Mike, yes.
Can't forget Magic Mike. If it wasn't for Magic Mike, I wouldn't be here. So when I say hip hop, I include Miami bass is hip hop. It's street music. It was influenced. They were rapping. They were breaking. They were DJing. It's hip hop, but it's the South version of hip hop because of the way they were living their life down here.
Well, I remember hearing Bass Rock Express by MCADE, which is considered like probably one of the first Miami bass records.
Yeah, I think mine was Tro the D, and we used to go to like a roller disco, which I later found out Phil used to DJ at. And I first heard Give the DJ a Break by Dynamics 2. I was like, wow, what's that? It's like the first tune with like massive
bass, multi-tone bass on it. Yeah, it's probably the first one that really got me excited about the whole genre, and that's when I knew I wanted to start making tracks like that.
Now, let's take a journey deep down south to Brazil and meet the artists who crafted their own music based heavily on the Miami bass sound.
Ele é pai do baile funk hoje, o baile funk carioca. O DJ Battery Brian, ele é, digamos que ele é o pai do tamborzão.
Que por um acaso o Nas trouxe, né?
Foi o Nas que trouxe pra cá, enfim, muita coisa. 95% do que tocou nos bailes funk vinha através dele, né? Ele que trazia pra cá, ele que trazia essas músicas pra tocar aqui. Isso influenciou gerações.
Bass, my friend. People like bass.
So I want the world to see this. All his negotiations back then, bringing down the bass history.
The other thing, bass in Miami. I'm the first Brazilian guy to buy bass.
in person.
Whoa.
Casual Records do not exist anymore. Carlos died.
He died.
He died. Great
very,
friend.
Very well known in the music.
Yeah. So they control the radio and decided to stop Miami Bass. Only play lyrics in Portuguese because they become rich. We start making money. Why play Miami Bass? So they destroy one movement. That movie 1 million people. Weekend all over Brazil. I sell records for all over Brazil. So they stop this movement. But this music is so strong. The bass is so strong.
Right.
That survive everything.
Right.
Because the music that they do come from the bass.
Mm-hmm.
So they can't deny the bass.
Right.
E o Miami Bass, quando chegou aqui nos anos 80, ele era essa alegria. As pessoas tinham seus problemas, tinham suas dificuldades por morar em favela e nos finais de semana invadiam os bailes. A gente conseguia colocar aí 1 milhão de pessoas curtindo Miami Bass. O Miami Bass, ele se encontrou dentro das favelas, ele se misturou com o candomblé, com músicas africanas, com tambores, e ele foi se transformando numa outra coisa. A música do Rio de Janeiro é o funk, e o funk de hoje veio do Miami Bass. Se hoje eu sou o que eu sou, graças a vocês que começaram isso lá atrás, lá na América, 10 mil quilômetros de distância, influenciaram a gente aqui. Valeu, obrigado.
My name is Cleyston, Kai DJ Tom Oliver. I have a band, family band, rock band in Brazil called Detonautas. And I have the Miami Bass influence because I used to live in United States for 8 years. I arrived in 1988 in New York, and the first thing when I arrived in New York, I went straight to the record store to buy all the Miami Bass records, like a Dynamic Shoe, Cut It Up Death. I have like a 5 or 6 records, vinyl, single, Techno Trip, Cut It Up Death, Party Time. I have all this record because I really love. I just bring this record to my friends here in Brazil when they came back. I learned a lot of things with Magic Mike. Here he's scratching. I was trying to do the same, but he's so good. He's very, very fast. He's good, right? The Cut It Up Death, the records. I was here the scratching, the performance. What you guys doing? Chuck D was so fast. I was trying to do the same and bring this to my band. I say thanks a lot to give this to us. It's appreciate, you know.
E eu também tenho um programa na Global Funk Radio, né? www.globalfunkradio.com. E toda sexta-feira eu procuro sempre também tocar Miami Bass e Electro.
E as coisas novas, né? Porque o Hugo, por exemplo, toca muita coisa nova dentro do estilo. Né?
Hoje é atual, né? Tem movimento, porque existem coisas atuais.
Exatamente.
Então nós queremos que essa atualizada funcione.
Isso aí.
Artistas do hip hop brasileiro com beats de Miami Bass.
Que legal!
Vamos lá, Kim.
Sally Derriel tocou muito aqui. Isso foi sucesso, não foi só nos bailes blacks, foi em todos os bailes aqui. Sally Derriel. E no Rio de Janeiro, enquanto eles tocavam as músicas mais rápidas, aqui o pessoal tocava as músicas mais lentas. Então nós temos, por exemplo, no Rio de Janeiro, o single do True Love Crew, Throw the D. Ok, Throw the D. É tocado no Rio. E aqui em São Paulo nós tocávamos Ghetto Bass. Então é uma coisa muito bacana. Aqui, DJ KJ, MC Cooley C. No Rio eu tocava Just Look and Listen. E em São Paulo tocávamos Hideway Donna. Então sempre houve essa diferenciação. O pessoal aqui de São Paulo curtia um som um pouquinho mais pesado e com os BPMs mais lentos. Isso também influenciou de certa forma a com que houvesse uma diferenciação entre o que tocava no Rio de Janeiro, que hoje é conhecido como o funk carioca, né? E o que toca aqui em São Paulo, que o pessoal rotula como hip hop, ok?
took a trip, went over to Brazil, started doing my shows over there, the concerts and stuff, and it was, I mean, the crowds were crazy, dude. I mean, it was, you know, I was doing soccer stadiums, 4 shows a night, massive crowds. I'm the only one performing, and it was crazy.
You guys ended up in Brazil. Right?
Yes.
So how was that experience over there?
That
The
was-
whole culture and everything.
Oh, that was like one of the best experiences that, you know, we ever encountered. Yes. We had over 20,000 people in a stadium, and we did like 2 shows in one night. We had 20,000 on this side of town, then we drove another 45 minutes away or so, 30, 45 minutes, and we had 5,000 people at another spot. So it was like unbelievable.
I remember one of my first memories of Miami is being here. Right when I first moved in here, I was just like laying on a tube in a wave pool at Six Flags Atlantis in Miami, and just watching like DJ Laz, Phil Money Jones, some of these guys cutting it up, and I was just looking up there, and I'm just like, man, this is insane. All the people in Miami just loving it, and these guys were just killing it on the cut. I've never seen scratching like that before, and I'm just looking, I'm like, man, that's what I want to do. I definitely want to do that. Like, I love this music. I've just been like in love with scratching ever since.
Days we cut it up deaf. We saw Laz at Six Flags Atlantis. John Ski, the hustler he is from New York, he got us in. We didn't pay to get in. We walked right through the gates of Atlantis, walked right up.
Sounds like
DJ
some
Laz
shit right there. There he is on the Gates of Atlantis.
Handed him a copy of Cut It Up Deaf. Laz pulled that record out, looked at it, put it on the turntable, listened to it, looked at us and went like that.
And he played it.
Well, no,
first he wanted to put it on.
Those days are done.
First he put it back in his stack.
Ever again.
Everybody used to bring me their booty records. Yo, let's see if I can get Laz to play this on the radio, or let's see if I can get Laz to play this at Six Flags Atlantis. That was like the ultimate parties. On Friday night, everybody would show up. Everybody would come up, and that was like the test to see if the record was dope. I'd pop it in the headphones, I'd listen to it, I'd be like, yeah, this record's going in right now. Boom! And cut it in.
This is back in like 80, 88, 89. Those days are done. Those days are done.
We had just pressed We Could Get Together. So we brought it, I got up on stage, somebody let us on stage. I think Mike Jewish, convinced them to let us up there. So we got up there, and I asked Laz if he could play it, and Laz is like, well, we're on the radio live, I can't just play something, but he played it in the headphones, he listened to it, he liked it, and boom, do it right on the radio.
Yeah, bro.
And after that, I was waiting for that day, and I was in the car with my old manager and Mike Jewish and all, and we're driving around, like, I can't wait for that day to where I just hear it. Not where I'm asking somebody to play it, but I just hear it. Fucking 5 minutes after that on the friggin' radio, and we're like, holy shit. But the reason why I brought that all up is because he broke the record.
Laz was the red alert of Miami bass.
And just like the old days, modern day pirates took advantage of many bass artists.
It was fucked up. They shitted on artists, man. You know what I'm saying? If you didn't really understand the business, a lot of artists that came from my genre of music were literally taking advantage of it. And I'm gonna put that out there. That needs to be heard.
Because I definitely don't want to fuck anybody the way I got fucked at the beginning. My first royalty check, and I remember it perfectly, was 35 cents. Next time, buy me a fucking soda. Don't send me a check for 35 cents.
People in the administrative or the executive or corporate side of music had absolutely no respect for artists.
Right. I got it right on paper. My older brother used to always tell me, man, if it ain't right on paper, it ain't right.
You're right. Who's got money for a lawyer back then? Who had money?
Who did?
Who had money for that shit?
As far as the up-tempo stuff, South Florida has always had up-tempo music.
It's the party.
Even
when I was a kid and it was R&B stuff, if it was a national hit that was dun dun dun, fine, great. It might have been top 10 or whatever. Down here, if the B-side was faster, that's what people
the one
were
that would
dancing
blow
to.
up.
Yep.
In the clubs, in the streets. What do you think? It's the heat, the sex drive? What is it?
I think it's the heat.
Partially the red light district, and the strip clubs and
the heat keeps everything at a faster pace. If I'm making any sense.
the tropics.
The tropics.
Let's just call it the tropics.
The tropics,
We're close to the
because
Caribbean.
it's that way with everything else. It's not just the music; it's sports.
Well, Will.i.am, he's just heavily influenced by the Miami bass sound. So, he samples, he uses, like Fix It in the Mix, and of course he went and took the Afro-Rican, borrowed, that vibe for their record. So, to me, everything stems or comes from And if you're gonna get a tempo up to like 120, 130, you're probably talking Miami bass.
You know, I always thought like, even if I didn't get to be the artist, I'd like to be behind the artist, you know, doing some production or something like that. But fuck it, I wouldn't mind getting behind the mic. You know, maybe not this late at night. So I sound a little raspy, real sexy. Sexy.
Live on the night beat.
Live on the night beat. Fuck that. I wanna take you to my house.
Getting into the music business again and never knowing where you're gonna end up. For me, I always feel like do it from the heart, and whatever comes out of it is always right. It's your therapy. So, you know, when you get a trophy like, you know, a platinum plaque or something like this from Fergie, from a record label, it is, to me, besides the money, is one of those things that says that you've been recognized for something that you've created. At the end of the day, it all started for me making bass music.
Bass music, it was 128 to 140, and now all the rap records now, it's 140, but they put it half time, so it's a 70, you know? And so it's still a bass music, but
and they're putting the snare on the other,
on the one,
on every second
instead
one,
of,
yeah.
Yeah.
And also they're tricking out the hi-hats. They're
Yes.
also using a lot of the snare rolls like we used to do back in bass
Yes.
with the octaves, and they're using a lot of that stuff. So basically it's still around.
Yes, it is.
It's still relevant, right?
It's very relevant, and you know that's one thing I always tell people these days. It's like in today's market, most of the records these people are hearing is bass music.
Mr. Mix, he did a big part when we was running real good. So he put everything together with the bass music, I would say that.
On the walls you notice beautiful plaques. Boy Usher, a couple million sold there, a couple million for Lil Wayne, couple million for Beyonce. And right behind you is Nelly. The B.O.B. was at the top of the stairs. Jamie Foxx, Trick Daddy. And you saw the Lil Wayne, Beyonce, Usher, T.I. So that's what I'm doing now.
Peanut butter jelly was a dance that was just popular in Miami amongst the kids and whatnot. So this is when Trick Daddy was popular. He was doing his thing. He did a show on BET and he was going over Shut Up, talking about peanut butter jelly. And he was representing hard for the Crips. So Chip went home, put some loops together, came up with it, peanut butter jelly. So here we got a song. So I'm like, all right. So we start playing the shit. It's real popular. We put it on mix CDs. So all of a sudden, you know, we flipping through the radio stations and Power 96 is playing it. And I'm like, damn, man, this must be a mistake, or they must have played it by accident. They ain't gonna play no Booty Shake song in 2001 in the morning or at night. And we just originally made the song for us to DJ with, just something for us to have, because nobody wasn't making no real Miami records no more like that. Everything was, they trying to do what Atlanta was doing. They wasn't trying to be Miami no more. We went to Amadal Oscar studio, took us an hour and a half, put the shit down, jammed on it, and all we doing is mic checking, jamming on it. Bitch can say what they want. We made probably the last authentic Miami song that was whamming on the radio, clubs, everywhere. Peanut butter jelly was everywhere.
What was that crazy other peanut butter and
Yeah, peanut butter jelly. You remember that piece of BS record that you broke that too?
So it was real cool. Nick put us on. We had a deal with Slip and Slide Records. Then Luke came in and he tried to get it from Chipman. So it was a mess, and ain't no need to go through all the mess, but everybody prospered from it. Everybody got some money from it. And peanut butter jelly time, we did our thing with it.
The booming bass sound is now a global musical phenomenon.
It's peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time. Where ya? Where ya? Where ya? Where ya? Peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly with a baseball bat. And everybody knows somebody that knows somebody that knows something about it. I'm straight out the county, dude. 305 niggas in my head.
Your back to suffer, cause misdemeanor said
that BASS bass. But I know y'all wanted that 808. Can you feel that BASS bass? I like the way you move. I like the way you move. We get the hotel, motel, holiday inn. We get the hotel, motel, holiday inn. Seems like that freaky stuff. 2 in the O and 1 in the I. That kinky stuff, you nasty. But I like your typing like T-ass, whatever you like. Oh, hot damn, this is my jam. Keep the party into the AM. Y'all don't understand. Make me throw my hands in the air, 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 air.
So delicious. It's hot, hot, so delicious. I put them boys on rock, so delicious. They want a taste of what I got. I'm burgerlicious. Taste, taste that boy, 'cause you can't. What's this? What's this? Yeah, I want this party started, guys.
We got to beat that bounce. We got to beat that pound. We got to beat that 808, that boom boom in your town.
Boom, 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 gotta get that boom, 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 gotta get that boom, 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 gotta get that boom, 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 gotta get that.
Long hill, red bottom, long hill, red bottom, long hill, red bottom. Step, step, step.
I'm the MC Devastator. I like to rock fast. I got juice. I got class. Like to cool in the crib.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, one of the most original and unusual acts you'll ever see.
Put your hands together. Welcome, DJ Magic.
Hey, man, which one of you guys is the DJ?
Magic. Magic.
And now, boys and girls, we're going to have a real old-fashioned community sing.
Listen up, y'all. This is it. Listen up, y'all. This is it.
The bass that is Miami, do the speakers in my car. The bass that is Miami, rocks the party really hard. The bass that is Miami, is the one that rules the crowd. The bass that is Miami, is so that you play it loud.
Turn it up, play it loud, reach for the sky. Megatron's gonna show you the reason why. Forget the beat that kicks and the bass that booms, sending out vibrations all across the room. This like one nation can't stop us now, 'cause when we come to play, we show you how. Put your feet to the floor and get ready to move, 'cause the bass that ain't Miami is a solid groove.
It was terrible. I loved it. Get him off! More!